What's up, DIY Nation? How you doing? It's your good buddy Darren, DIY 1978 guy, back with another video, another DIY video. And if you're new to my channel, thank you very much. I've been getting some new subscribers trickling in here and there. It's fantastic. I love it. The word's getting out. I hope these videos are helping some people. My apologies about the shadow over here. It is starting to get dark out, and I have a kind of a bright light up here so that you can see what I'm doing, but had to put a hat on because without it I was blinding the lens on the camera. So there you go, perks of being a bald guy. But anyway, if you're new to my channel, thank you, welcome. I hope you enjoy the stay. I'll try to put videos out as much as possible here, but unfortunately with time constraints and everything like that, haven't had a lot of chances to do it, but that'll improve as the remainder of the year goes on. If you watched my last video that I published just recently, and you were able to help out those people you know, in Florida and North Carolina with the hurricane stuff, thank you very much. I mean, it is, again, I still hear stories from friends of mine that are out there about all the difficulties they're having. Continue to give. I left a plug to a buddy of mine's charity or organization, if you will, Wings of the Spirit, in the last video. Donate to them. It does go to a great cause. Those people do great work. He is a close friend of mine. So anyway, today, speaking of hurricanes, and I mean, it dumbfounds me. It absolutely dumbfounds me. But we had this problem when a hurricane came through here not too long ago. I told you I had to fix like 6 generators right before the hurricane. I've got a couple of friends of mine that I talked to who bought generators, and I'll leave the manufacturer names out of it just in case you have one of those, but bought generators specifically for Hurricane Milton that was coming into Florida, and of the like 4 or 5 of them that I knew, 3 of them would not work. And now they got to get their money back. They had a fight with the company to get it all back and everything like this. And I'm not talking about like started and ran and died, which is a common thing that happens. I'm talking about like never even would start. Brand new, put fuel in it, put oil in it. Apparently it's electric start, and this particular model is also an electronic fuel injection generator, which to me I think is a kind of a dumb thing to do on that kind of a device. But yeah, couldn't get them started, nothing. Ended up having to try to find hotels because their homes were too hot, too humid, lost all their food, everything, you know. So you buy one of these standby generators specifically for that purpose, and it dies or it doesn't work. So talk about making the investment not worth it. Believe it or not, they are pretty resilient, but you do have to do some maintenance on it. So I say all of that to say today we're going to be working on a generator. Now, in my previous video, you probably saw this guy sitting in the background. I'll bring it in closer and show you what it is in a minute. It is a little Honda generator, and these things are great. I love these little things. They're kind of pricey, but they're uber reliable, and they're quiet. They're very fuel efficient. And you know, a lot of times at the tailgates and things like that, if you go out RVing, if you go out tailgating, a lot of times you'll see generators like this powering everything up. I went out RVing this past weekend for the LSU game, and fortunately, talk about generators failing, the one that was on board in the RV that I've also done videos on did fail 30 minutes into into my trip out there. It's the first time I was actually using the generator to sustain the vehicle for the weekend. 30 minutes in, it died. Unfortunately, I had Old Faithful back there in the corner on a trailer, and I was able to get through the weekend with that. But there will be another video coming up when I pull that generator out. This one's got a much bigger problem than just fuel now. Anyway, I keep going off on tangents here. These little Honda generators are fantastic. Now this, again, is another one of my neighbors who, right after the hurricane that we had come through here, he was having some problems with it. Actually had it serviced right before the hurricane, loaned it out to a neighbor to use, and about 6 hours in, it shut down, wouldn't start. Now, when he gave it to me, we couldn't get it started. Like, he said that it would run rough a little bit and then it would die. We couldn't even get it started. So it's been sitting on my patio over here for a good month and a half or something like that, almost 2 months. And right before this video, I was getting ready to do an intro. Can I revive it again? Can I bring it back to life? Well, just as a test, I fired it up and it did run, but it ran rough. It only runs, it only really runs on choke. It surges when you close, when you open the choke up on it to try to put it into run mode, it surges up and down. It won't run smooth. So what turned out to be, or what was going to be, an expedition on trying to figure out air, fuel, and spark is now going to become probably a simple carburetor clean out. So let me bring in and show you what this guy actually is. This is a Honda Cyclo converter. I don't know, never heard of that brand before. Well, no, I know the brand, but I never heard of that model. But there's a Cyclo converter EB3000C. So just based on what I know, I believe that's a 3,000 watt generator. All the cool bells and whistles on the side here. Circuit breaker, of course, on off. This is how you actually get it started. It's not an electric start, it is a pull start, but you do have to have that on. Oil alert, output indicator, circuit breakers, all the normal stuff. Looks like it does do 110, 120. You can do a 21 amp 220 circuit, which is the 3-prong. I forget what the model of that plug actually is. Or you can do your standard NEMA 15 amp plug right here. So again, circuit breaker, but I mean, it's a pretty standard generator. It's like I said, pull start. It's got the on-off fuel, air cleaner, choke. And as I was stating just a second ago, this thing is carbureted. Now, in my DIY professional opinion, I'll go back and explain why just for a second, why I said EFI probably is not a good thing to have on a standby generator. Now, if we're talking about one of those big home standby generators, possibly you get by with that. But for something like this, when you need these things in an emergency, and hearing all the issues that people had that bought these EFI generators, electronic fuel injection generators have a computer. They have fuel injectors. They have either mechanical or electrical fuel pump on it. They have a battery. They have all these things. They even have electronic ignition, okay? All things that require a certain level of battery power to be able to operate. And I say that because if the battery doesn't work, if the battery voltage is too low, if the computer inside of it decides it doesn't want to work, you're dead in the water. You can't use it, okay? You can charge the battery and try to start it up, but if there's anything on top of that, there's no mechanical workaround for the generator. Unlike these more standard carbureted mechanical engine generators, right? Something that has a carburetor on it. Even if it has electronic choke, you can still get around that. If it has an electric starter, most of them still have a pull start on it for that reason. Point being is you're not relying on a computer and electronics necessarily for it to run. Maybe to start, but not necessarily to run. You can mechanically bypass things and get the generator running to support yourself during the time of an emergency. So while it's a cruel, not cruel, it's cruel, yeah, that they don't work. While it's a cool idea and probably more fuel efficient to go with electronic fuel injection and these things, I don't think these companies, to the ones that I know of, I'm not a master on all of these, but I don't think these companies have put enough research and development into these electronic EFI generators to make them reliable enough to where they can sit up for a very long time, maybe get start once a month, they can keep a battery tender on them, but to where they're not going to have some other kind of issue. So long-winded, 9 minutes worth of an intro. So I'm just chewing up time talking to you guys that I normally would be doing working on this. So I did bring my tool cart out here. I think I've got everything I'm going to need for this one. It's going to be a very standard fuel and carburetor clean out on this, but let me get a couple of things apart on it. I'll save you the hassle of watching that, and I'll be right back and we'll get fired up on this carburetor. So stick with me, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Alright, so I got a couple of pieces apart on this thing. Of course, we took off the air cleaner and the air cleaner housing. This is a brand new air cleaner, so we don't have to worry about that. It's a nice little foam element in there. There is the back side of the air cleaner housing with some connections on it and everything. Very clean. There's a breather on there, which is nice. And then of course on the engine itself, of course, the things that we checked for, right? The last one that I did, that last video, they were missing the gasket that went between the actual housing and the carburetor. So it was just two 10mm bolts and then another 10mm down lower to get that piece off. We've got our throttle linkage right here that comes from the governor, which is back there. Of course, fuel line, which is convenient because they have a fuel shutoff, and so on and so forth. So we're not even going to bother pulling the spark plug out on this one. And not to my surprise, it is a very, very similar carburetor to many of the other ones that I've used and worked on. These, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's R-E-I-H-I-N, Rain, I guess. Carburetors seem to be extremely popular on these smaller Honda engines. Like I said, I have a generator, I mean not a generator, excuse me, I have a pressure washer with a Honda engine on it that has that same one. But just kind of looking at it, I don't know if you can tell, down inside there, the little bit of gunk that's in the throttle flap there's some residue that's up inside there. When I pulled the fuel line off, the initial smell from the fuel line is that there was some bad gas in there. Now, he did tell me that he put fresh gas in there, but if you look at the inside of that nipple right there, I don't know if that's actually a screen or that's just gel caked up against there, because I don't recall ever seeing that on any other one. We have our, of course, you know, manual choke and everything. There's gunk on the back side of here, so I have a feeling that we're going to find some carnage and some gunk inside this carburetor. So that's what the carburetor looks like. It's like I said, very similar to the rest of them. There's a little drain screw on the bottom of it. One difference that I did notice is that this one actually has some kind of an adjuster screw. Looks like an air adjustment, air fuel adjustment right there on the side. We may or may not have to do something with that, but I'm gonna go ahead and disassemble this carburetor. Like I said, you guys have seen me do this a bunch of times, so I'll disassemble it and then we'll get into the process of actually cleaning it out. I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And again, my apologies for the shadows over here and whatever. I'll try to do my best to keep everything in the light here, but I did get the bowl apart on this thing. One thing I first do want to show you is I said I wasn't sure if that little deal inside the fuel nipple was actually gunk that was caked up inside there or something else. Turns out it's actually a little fuel filter of sorts, and probably also an orifice to keep the fuel from flowing down into that thing that fast. But that's it. It's just a little screen that goes in there that I extracted, so we're going to keep that out so that we can clean everything out. Now, at first look inside the bowl here, you can see, matter of fact, if I get my flashlight, maybe that'll help a little bit. Inside that bowl, you can see just all the old trash and residue that's up inside there. I don't know which view is probably better. There you go, nice and dark, can't see anything. But there's a bunch of residue and just trash that's caked up in there, especially down on the bottom. So there was a lot of fuel that sat in here and gelled up at one point. You can take the scraper and you can go in there and scrape some of that stuff out. So we're going to go ahead and clean that out in a minute. But the same thing looking at the tip of the carburetor. So there's all around there, that's all old fuel residue that has dried up and caked up. And that's what these ethanol fuels do to these things. I mean, these ethanol fuels are just deadly on carburetors if you let them sit there. So if we have that much caked up around here, we can almost bet that the jet has also got a bunch of gunk inside of it. So first things first, as we always do, we're going to go ahead and pull the pin on this thing and remove the float and needle. Try not to drop it here. Looking at the float and the needle, it looks like actually a plastic needle this time. I wish I had a camera that focused, but anyway, the needle itself has a nice spring-loaded piece on to keep it in place, which is good. Most of them don't, and it looks pretty clean, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. We will clean up the seat a little bit once we get into this thing. But oh, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. So there's a little better view. You can kind of see the green crud all around here. And then down inside there, I don't know if you can see that, there is, down in this corner, there's a nice, looks like a pile of dried up boogers, if you will. So definitely some gunk up inside there. So let's go ahead and get started cleaning out the fuel line first. We're just going to the fuel delivery, spray some carbon choke cleaner through there. That's flowing pretty good. We don't have to worry about it, which I expected. Ooh, here's another thing we want to do too, so that it doesn't come back to burn. This seal right here, if you can get it out, I recommend trying to take it out if you're going to use carbon choke cleaner, because it will cause these seals to swell up. So take that out, get that out of the way. There's usually a bunch of gunk underneath there too that we're going to end up cleaning out as well. So see if we can get all the snots out of the bottom of this thing. Carbon choke cleaner, and I'm not partial to any one particular brand. This is just the one that somebody gave me as a thank you, but stuff works really good. Carbon choke cleaner generally has a little bit more detergent power and gunk breaking power than brake parts cleaner, which is what I normally use. So let's see if we can get some of this crap off of here, pardon my French. Again, pretty standard. You guys have seen me do this a number of times, so we want to make sure we get all of that trash and residue out of the galley where the rubber gasket sits, because if you don't, you go back together with it and turn the fuel on, and then you end up with a leak. So I'm just using a plastic, or those light plastic bristled brush, and just, I know you can't see this, but I'll show you. Just looking down inside there where the jet is, there is a ton of garbage up in there. So I have a feeling we're going to be moderately successful with getting this thing to run better. Go ahead and clean out the intake piping on this. Just nice to see that this thing is as clean as it is on the outside, at least, not like the blower and a few others that I've worked on that were, you know, really dirty and nasty on the outside. So all right, so now we're going to go through the process of getting the jet out. So let me walk through that process real quick. Sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes it doesn't. Let me go through that, get the jet out, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So stay with me, I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So we did get the two pieces of the jet out. I will tell you that these gave me a fight. I thought it wasn't going to come out. This is all it is just a brass jet that's up inside an aluminum housing. They do put a little bit of sealer on these to hold these in there, but just with all that gunk that gets up in there, what it does, it also gets up in the cracks in the threads and makes them harder to get out. My key to success so far for getting them out is to soak them down with WD-40 or some other kind of sealer. Man, I'm telling you, like, my brain is on weirdo mode tonight. Another form of lubricant to get down in there and let it sit. I'll usually tap the side of the housing right here. I'll tap around the side just to kind of break some of that gunk free. Sometimes you have to use heat, you know, with a little piezo torch or something. This time I didn't have to do that, but it does not take much to booger up that one little slot that keeps those in there. So again, we have the actual jet riser, which has all the different holes in it, the different air holes, which you guys have seen before. I'll show you again as I go through it. But this, in fact, is the main jet. So we're going to do a test that has been successful for me in person, but very unsuccessful, I think, when I try to show this on camera, is to show, I don't know if you guys can see that, to see any light through there. I guess I'll find out once I edit this. But anyway, there is light going through there, but it is not a whole lot. So standard process that I always follow. I have my trusty little piece of wire that I use. Again, I tend to put little kinks and bends in it, so once I run it through the jet, I can kind of scrape it all around inside there to loosen that stuff up. And it's just a matter of get some spray in there, start to loosen it up, and then you rinse and repeat until, as you can see, right, it's all the way through there, and you just run this around up inside there to clean that garbage out of the jet. I know it's very hard to see this, but take my word for it. Like I said, there's different angles that that you'll see in my different videos, where sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. And this is one of the points that I generally make. I was saying earlier, if you're new to my videos, one of the points that I usually make, I know there's 1,000 videos out there on doing the same process, but every video has perhaps one angle or one something the person says, or some description inside of it that helps to tie the whole picture together when you yourself are going down the trek of DIY. So even though, like I said, there's a number of different videos on this, I may show you a different angle or perspective that helps to tie up that last loose detail that you otherwise didn't find in some of the other videos. So this thing is going through a little bit better now. Just as for the record, I also did clean all the garbage off of that riser. You want to make sure you get all that garbage off that riser, because what happened is that'll go back in the carburetor, and over time, especially if you run some fuel cleaners through there, it'll break that up. That'll all go down in the bottom of the carburetor, and you're going to end up with the same issue all over again. So let's take a look at the jet now. Still has a little bit of garbage left in it. Garbage, little bit of garbage. So yeah, my family's from New York City, so when they say it's, hey, that jet's got a little bit of garbage left in it, so garbage. But I know it's a terrible impression. Cut me off in traffic and be riding in the vehicle with me, you'll hear the New York accent come out of me, that's for sure. But that's generally when it comes out. It's interesting too, because I live in the South. People tell me down here that I sound like I'm from up north, New York, or even New Orleans. That's because New Orleans happens to be the one, which is not north, but happens to be the one city in Louisiana where the accent sounds fairly similar. But they all tell me I sound like I'm from New York. I always get the, where you from? You're not from around here. Like, no, from New York. Not really. I was actually born here, but we did live up north for 10 years. So I don't miss the cold weather, I will tell you that. There's also, what I'm cleaning off, if you can see this, is there's some junk around the outside rim of that. So you want to make sure you get this thing as spotlessly clean as possible, again, without damaging it. So sometimes it's kind of difficult because these parts are so small, you know, to try to even hold them in place. But just a process you got to work through. Looks like that jet's clearing up pretty good. Let me see if I can put my air chuck on here and launch it across the vehicle. Oh. Oh my God, these stupid leaky fittings. How annoying is that? Alright. Let's take a look and see what we got here. Oh yeah. That, hopefully, let me get this thing up high enough. I'm doing this on the opposite side. Hopefully you can see that. That thing is all cleared out now. If I had to give you a percentage, I would say it's 50 to 70% wider now than it was when I started. So good shape there. We're going to do the same thing with the little riser jet. Looking through, see what kind of, most of these holes look pretty decent. Some of them look a little plugged, but we're going to go through the same process. These things are also different sizes as well, so I'll have to get a better way to show you guys how to do this, or how it looks. But anyway, same process. Just gonna run this wire through each set of holes in here, make sure it's cleared out, just like that. This one actually has, let's see, this 3 times 4 is 12 there. Then we've got 2 more smaller ones up here in the top of this thing right there. So there's 2, 1 on each side there. There's 3 down this side, 3 down the back side, 3 down the front, and 3 down the back of this. And then there are 2 more on this side right here, which would come out to 2 others on this side, and then 3 on the front side. So that's a lot. I think that might be the most that I've seen so far on one of these things. Oh, the bugs are just ridiculous out here tonight. So mosquitoes, that's why you can probably hear my fan running in the background. Mosquitoes are just terrible. I already got bit up a few times, but don't worry, I bit them back, so they won't be biting me again. All right, that turned out to be fairly clear. Oh, look at that, high quality gloves. I'm telling you, I mean, pop down in the comments. This is something I had posted on my Facebook page a long time ago. If you're not following me on Facebook, you can follow me. It's at DIY1978 guy on Facebook. I had actually posted this on there a while back during the lull of putting videos. Name something, either in the comments below or on Facebook or something. Name something that is made as good or better today than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. A lot of the answers I was getting of things that aren't made as well are appliances, stuff like that. I mean, think about it, like refrigerators, freezers, all that. I mean, my parents have got a freezer. I probably should keep working while I'm talking here. My parents have got a freezer that I think they bought right after my younger brother was born, and he's 44. And that thing is still kicking. I see tons of people with deep freezers and refrigerators, old-timey refrigerators that still got them. But yet you go and buy one of these new smart refrigerators, which are not real smart. You go and buy these new things and they're just trash. They don't last at all. You get a 5-year warranty or something. You might get 5 years out of it if you're lucky. The more basic it is, the better it seems to work. Like I had one of those fancy front load washing machine dryer things. Piece of junk. I got a very basic model of them now. Things are bulletproof. I will tell you those Speed Queens, those things are fantastic. So here we are looking through here. Again, let's take a look, see if I can do this without blinding myself. Very clean, very clean, and very clean, very clean. So clean, I feel like Mr. Clean. Ha ha ha, funny joke. Alright, I did also clean out the trash inside the bowl here. So now we're going to focus on the actual carburetor. And again, I'm not going to go through all of this like I did the last couple of times, but there are orifices that run through the carburetor that either help to pressurize the bowl to push fuel up into the jet, or you know, cause pressure differentials that help to suck it in. I don't know the exact mechanics behind every single one of them, but all of those little orifices you also have to clean out. If you don't, then one little orifice that you miss could cause the thing not to run properly, and all that work that you did turns out to be for nothing. So in this carb, this is on the let's see, this is on the air cleaner side. So we have pressure hole right there where air is going to get sucked in. We have a jet right there, which, if I remember correctly, this one actually feeds into the actual carb jet orifice. There's an orifice that goes down into there, and I think that helps to create a pressure differential to help, again, suck the fuel up in there. This if I remember correctly. I don't remember where that one goes, but we'll find out when we spray it in there. And then, just like the other ones, up inside the actual, right in front of the throttle blade, there's a couple of very like tiny holes. Actually, this one with the brass fitting actually feeds these little pressure ports inside there. So we're just gonna basically run through them. We'll start with this one right here, and that's the one that actually comes out from the jet. So there you go, that one's good. We've got clearance coming through there. Go ahead and blow that out. It's like some kind of weird black sealer or something on the back of it. Hello. And then we'll go ahead and run this up in here. Let's see if we actually have that. We do have fluid coming through these little orifice jets, but I do want to try to get this wire up in there to clear them out. So that's essentially what I'm doing. I don't know if you can see that. There's these little orifice jets up inside there that I'm basically just sticking the head of the wire into to clear out any gunk that might be in there. One of them did actually fight me a second, so. And then there's one you can kind of see, maybe there's a little brass tip that comes out right there, which also I think has a jet inside of it. These things are tiny, like you literally need a magnifying glass to see these things sometimes. But again, don't have this thing facing you whenever you shoot into that, because it will backfire in your face. And carbon choke cleaner does not feel good when it backfires into your face. It burns like the Dickens, whoever they are. Anybody know who the Dickens are? Or where that phrase came from? Let's see here. So we're just running this this wire up inside there to clean it. You can twist it around. You'll feel it kind of sink further in to the orifices. Just run that through there. Again, just same process as always. Patience is key. It's something I don't normally have, but I'm getting a nice jet. I can feel it on my finger. I'm getting a nice jet through there. So I don't believe this one goes anywhere. Yeah, that one doesn't. That's just a wasted hole right there. I don't know what that's for. Popeye the Sailor Man. Feeling kind of goofy tonight. Alright, let's see if we can. I don't know what this black stuff is that's down here, but get rid of that too. Alright, Skeeters, go somewhere else. Come on. Pardon me one second. Yeah! Tell your friends about me. Actually, can't. Alright, so we have another orifice right here. This is on the actual engine side of it. There is an orifice right there, which also just pressurizes the carb. This is another reason why you don't want these things facing you, so when the line comes off, it doesn't go in your face. So this orifice right here actually just pressurizes the bottom there. It just basically feeds. There should be vacuum pressure on that, which actually helps to suck fuel into the bowl and fill it, is what I understand. So I don't think I need to take that little guy out, so we're not going to. I think that's probably it. Let's see. We have this little black plastic plug right here. So we're going to pull that out and see what's behind door number 14. Just unscrew that. Just remember what it was. This is the actual idle stop, this plastic piece.
I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eats me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Toot toot.
Anyway, alright, so there is an orifice. I don't know if you can see that. There is a little orifice down in there. We'll figure out where that goes. That also comes out via the jet. So that may actually be a an air-fueled jet. I don't claim to be a master on these things. I mean, I've been around them for many years and have learned a number of different things about them, but I am by no means a master on all of these. There are some that I've worked on that have surprised me with the way they're designed and what they do. So all I'm doing is just putting this, well, not putting it back in until we get this thing to seat all the way down. Okay, I'm going to put this idle component back on here, the idle stop screw. If it actually wants to screw in, there it goes. So we're just going to adjust that to about, if I can get the screwdriver in there, about right there, I think is about where it was. So again, that's all that is just an idle stop for the throttle. All right, well, I think we've got it all cleaned out. So to save you the hassle and the boredom, if you're not already asleep watching me do this, I'm gonna go ahead and reassemble this thing and put it back together, and we'll give it a shot, see what happens. So basically I'm gonna fast forward without fast forwarding, so I'll be right back. All right, so we're back, and there's the carburetor. It's all put back together again, nice and cleaned out. Excuse me. Manual choke, bowls back on, screws back on. Again, make sure you clean the head of the screw before you put that back in. I put some silicone spray around that that rubber seal to help loosen it up, make it a little more pliable. And we've got the little filter back in here. So I'll bring you in here and see if I can put this thing back together here. Let's get this out of the way. So like I said, it's just going to slide onto these, I don't know if you can see this, just slide onto these two studs right here. We've got to put the throttle and the return spring, or the throttle spring, on here, as well as fuel line. So go ahead and slide this guy on here. The gasket is still in place and it is still good, so we're not going to worry about changing that. Let's see here. And so much of a pain that I do actually have to put it on after. Let's get this hose out of the way. Run this up inside. Did it go in? Oh, sweet, it went in. All right. And then there is a slot in here for, oh, there it is. So this is going to be a chore. Let me do this real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, let me show you what I was doing here. So try to hold the camera and the flashlight at the same time. So you've got this throttle linkage up inside here, which had to go in. That just falls right into place. But this spring, you have to pull it and knock it into that little hole in there. and you can see how thin that little cable is. That's your actual return spring. So that's what we were fighting with here a second ago. Of course, I got the fuel line I got to put on still. This is out of the way. We'll have, oh, I got to put the choke arm back on. Let's do that real quick. See if I can do that with it. There we go. That's going to sit right into the air cleaner housing, and then we'll slide this dude right up into place. Stay. We'll put the fuel line back on, like I said, and then we'll put the air cleaner housing back on. So let me go ahead and knock that out, and I'll be right back. Alright, so this is what it looks like. We've got the air cleaner housing back on. We got this random, I don't know what this hose is for. It comes out the bottom of the tank, but I mean the fuel line is right there. And this goes into what looks to be like an evap canister or something you'd have on your vehicle. So it's probably some kind of a catch for fuel vapor, if I had to guess. We got, like I said, this annoying hose that I'm going to, I think I'm going to take this, wrap it around here to get that out of the way. This actually goes into the valve cover. Right here is a breather. So we're going to push that guy out of the way. There we go. Now he's out of the way. It's out of the way of that thing. It's not all twisted up. And righteous. I've already turned the fuel on to see if we have any leaks coming out of here. I don't see any, which is good. So let me get the last little bit of this thing put back together. And again, I apologize for the shadows and everything. I have to do this at night out here with the one light. It's terrible. I'll get a shop eventually, but let me put this back together and we'll give it a fire test. Be right back. All right. Everything is back together. Air cleaner's back on. Choke is currently open. Fuel tank's got fuel in it. And let's go ahead and give it a shot. You want to make sure you move all of your flammable stuff as close as possible to the exhaust pipe on this, so that when you start it, you get fireworks, free fireworks. And I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That is not recommended whatsoever. Make sure you move all your flammable stuff out of the way. Remember, we had gas in the pan and everything like that over there, so make sure all that stuff's moved away. But let's see what happens. We're gonna pull the choke, turn the switch on. It may take a few pulls to get the fuel down in there. Sounds like a cop car. We have stuck throttle. What is going on with the throttle here? Why is the throttle? Alright, hold on a second. I just found a problem. Apparently the throttle, when we screwed it back on, the throttle's stuck shut. So let me check that out. I'll be right back. Okay, so what happened was when I was screwing everything back together, somehow or another the throttle got bound up between, like the throttle flap got, not the flap itself inside, but the actual linkage on top got bound up against a piece of plastic that was way back in there. So had it taken apart, free it up, and then put it back together. Now everything's good. So let's go ahead and give this another shot, shall we? Choke's on. That's a plus. Told you these things are quiet. something to plug into it, see if it works. Fill my truck bed up with a bunch of exhaust fumes. Recirculate the exhaust right into my face. Oh, right in that. Shut it down. I love the way it sounds when it shuts down. Sounds like the Jetsons vehicle landing. Some of y'all watching this, if you're young enough, probably don't remember who the hell the Jetsons are, but either way, we saved another one. Again, I thought this was going to be one where, you know, it wasn't going to run at all, but I'm actually kind of surprised, given the amount of junk that was in that carburetor, that it actually did start. Again, I told you it only ran when it was on choke. Reason being is, sorry, I had dinner, and so I keep trying to burp, but I know it's wonderful, isn't it? Reason being is because that jet that I showed you, right, that little tiny brass jet, that is pretty much the lifeline of the carburetor. It was, what, I don't know, 70% clogged. So there's just a very little bit of fuel coming through there. So with the choke wide open, too much air, not enough fuel, causes a lean mixture, not enough of a combustion to keep the engine running. When you close the choke, it limits the amount of air, which then regulates the air-fuel mixture. But again, with everything else that's designed to work on the carburetor, you know, the pressure jets, all that kind of stuff, that's why it won't run, or barely ran when it was on choke. If you start to open it up, it starts surging because the fuel mixture is leaning out. But cleaned it all out, and I think I like using the bed of my truck as a table. I like it better than working on that table. Maybe one day, if this, like I said, if you guys keep supporting, keep leaving comments, keep telling people about it, you know, subscribe. It's free. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I put new videos up. Doesn't cost anything. I promise I won't spam you with you know, tons of videos and requests and everything, but you know, if you guys help me make something of this, which the support's been great, maybe one day I'll be able to put the shop back there and we'll actually work in a bug-free, air-conditioned, well-lit environment. But that's part of DIY, right? DIY means sometimes you're going to be laying in the grass working on something, and trust me, there's been plenty of times over the years where I've had to work on a car, laying some gravel in the grass, something, pull a vehicle up on the curb to get one wheel off the ground so that I could change a tire, or do something. Look, DIY knows no bounds. So DIY also knows no limitations. Just keep at it, stay smart, trace your steps, walk through the process, and you too can be a DIY person and fix your own stuff. I've often said it, and I'll say it again, professionals, not all of them, but a lot of professionals out there charge a lot of money for this stuff, and they don't always know what they're doing. So you can probably mess it up 2 or 3 times yourself for free and learn something in the process, end up fixing it the next time you have to work on it. Now you know how it works. But anyway, this has been another DIY video. We saved a generator. Gonna call my neighbor and give him the good news. And thank you again for all the support. God bless you all. God bless those people out there in all the turmoil areas. Make sure you get out and vote, no matter who your allegiance is for, you know, whichever side you are. Get out and vote, make your voice known. An election's coming up in something like 20 days, whatever it is. But get out there and do it. But thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. Leave some comments, and I'll see you on the next one. DIY 1978 guy. Peace out.